Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Christian Music Bros podcast. We're excited that you're joining us today. My name is Braden, and this is Brendan.
Hello, everyone.
And we're excited that you're following us on this new episode today. Follow us on all the Spotify platforms, social media. Thank you again for watching. Today, we're with an amazing guest, David Zock of Remedy Drive.
Hey, it's good to be on the show, guys. Is your name Brad or Bradin?
Braden, actually.
Oh, okay. Good. I'm glad we cleared. Now we're even. You said Zach, and I was thinking Brad, but
That's okay. We call him Brad sometimes, so
Bradin and Brendan.
that's why we get confused with our names all the time too. So thank you again for joining us. David is the lead singer to the band Remedy Drive. You can find all their music on Spotify, Apple Music, everywhere you can listen to music. Even you can find them on the old iTunes and the iTunes store. I don't know. That was just a joke. But anyway,
I'm not even sure what's different now, man.
exactly.
I
It's all
just know that I can't get songs. I needed a song for a soundtrack the other day, and I didn't know where I could buy it, so I had to buy it. I tried on Amazon. It was that theme song from the Modelo commercial, which is actually like an old time. I think from The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, from that soundtrack, and it's a remix of a song from that soundtrack. So I had to buy it on some obscure website to get the MP3.
I usually just use Amazon, but
Okay.
but anyway, thanks for joining us. Can you just start off, talk a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in music, your music journey?
I grew up in Omaha, Nebraska. I started writing songs in high school, and then my brothers and I, three of us, started playing at the university, like free concerts. And then my other brother came back from California. We just started playing, and people started inviting us places. And so when I graduated college with a math degree, just ended up playing shows and trying to roof houses and stuff, washing windows. I got trained into rappel on high-rise window washing at that first half a year after college, kind of looking for a job. And then we realized we could do it full time. So that's how it started for us.
Very cool. Are you talking high rise, like the things you see in beach towns, like those big buildings on the beach, or like skyscrapers?
Yeah, but I mean, Lincoln, Nebraska skyscrapers. So I'm only talking about maybe 20 stories.
So the cornfield skyscrapers, got it.
Cornfield skyscrapers. Yeah, that's a kind way to say it.
Can you just start telling us off a little bit, transitioning more into the music, about how you formed Remedy Drive, and tell us a little bit about your guys' background there?
Well, I just started at writing songs, and one of my brothers, I said, maybe you can play bass, and another brother, maybe you can play drums. And I never dreamed we'd get to go full time, if I'm being honest with you. I never dreamed that I'd still be making music 25 years later for a living. And it was playing free concerts, handing out a ton of flyers, putting up table tents that have the advertisement for the concert in the dorms on campus. And I miss that. I miss that grassroots thing. We were hungry. We just invited everybody we knew to every concert we played, and it built from there.
Brandon, you want to add something?
Yeah, you mentioned that you've been doing this for I think 25 years now, which is incredible. What's that been like, staying consistent, releasing music with the same name, just really going through all these festivals, concerts, CDs? I'm sure that's definitely been a lot on you guys, continually making such good quality music. So what's that journey been like?
For me, I'm just so thankful because I love writing songs. I think I'd think about writing songs even if I didn't do this. Anytime I'm watching a movie, I'm thinking about oh, that's a cool line. That guy said something cool. If I'm in a conversation, somebody says something inspiring, I'll put it in the notes on my phone. Back in the day, it was I kept a notepad, or I'll sing voice memos into my phone, of melody ideas I get. So I just love paying attention to what's going on and trying to capture and kind of chronicle something that's chronicle beauty. I'm always looking for something that's beautiful, something that moves me, something that sounds true, that sounds meaningful, whether I'm reading C.S. Lewis or in a conversation with my kid,
Mm-hmm. Love that.
I don't know what I'd do if I didn't get to write songs. Like, I think I'd still write songs even if nobody was listening. So I'm just thankful people listen still.
That's really cool. Like I like songwriting. I like reading lyrics. I'm like a big lyric person.
Yeah.
Even if the background music's horrible, I'm just a big lyric person in general. Like I just like try to find a meaning. That's like the biggest thing I like. I think
Yeah.
Brad can agree. That's like a big thing. Like this podcast is about just finding like meanings in songs and stories and songs.
Yeah. That's cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about one of your favorite songs you've written, or a story of one of your songs you've written?
I don't know what song do you think I should?
Whatever one you feel like this is like we just do like whatever we like talk about.
One of my songs recently that keeps on coming back up in current events that I am particularly fond of the lyric on. It's one of my most, like, lyrically, it's one of the songs I'm most proud of, is Warlike. And in the song Warlike, I asked the question on the chorus is why are we so warlike as a species? And it kind of is a sequel to a song I have called The Cool of the Day. And The Cool of the Day says, what was it like before the fall? What was it like before the use of force, before the great divorce, before the curse began to take its course? In the cool of the day, we walked together. And just for me to imagine humanity apart from violence, apart from that first stone that crushed the skull of a brother, and the invention of the spear, and then the arrow and the sword, and the musket, the AR-15, the AK-47, the A-bomb. And so in Warlike, as someone that hates slavery as well, I chronicle all the things that make my life comfortable, that make my life what it is, and the impact they have on people that are just struggling to survive because of conflict, because of violence, because of the coltan, which is a blood mineral inside my cell phone. There's a mineral called coltan that it's mined really unethically, at the expense of life, at the expense of child soldiers, people that are enslaved, people that are exploited, people are taken advantage of, just like our diamonds, our coffee, our cocoa, our chocolate. And so the song has just so much lyric in it. But for me, it's my way of imagining and hoping and wishing that, and believing that there's a goodness and a kindness in us that will outlast and outlive this temporary warlike tendency that we have.
Thanks for sharing it. I agree with that. And like, oh, it's cool to it's like see everything has like lyrical meaning. Like that's the big thing about songwriting and like performing. It all has to come together to make one.
Yeah.
Brad, do you have anything you want to add off that very quick before I transition?
Yeah. The first song I actually heard from you guys, Remedy Drive, was actually a song called Better Than Life that you guys released many years ago.
Yeah.
And since then, I know your music's gone through a lot of changes musically, lyrically. Honestly, I'm a bigger fan of you guys now than I used to be because I love the beauty that you do in these lyrics.
Yeah.
So what's that been like, the lyrical transition? We're going to transition soon to more about the mission you guys are doing. But like, what's that been going from more kind of mainstream Christian music to now this passionate releases that you've been doing for the past few years?
Yeah, we were, and we never intended to be mainstream. You know, it never really set right in my soul. I never set out to do it, but I'm also thankful that we were for a few years. You know, I'm thankful that because of Better Than Life, you found out about our band, right? And the same with like All Along, which was a great song, and I'm thankful for that song. And it put us kind of on the outskirts of the mainstream. We were never right in the center, but we're kind of on the outskirts of that mainstream thing. And I'm thankful for it because a lot of people found out about Remedy Drive. But then, you know, even in Better Than Life's a great song to talk about that translation in lyric, right? So I'm singing, I need you to keep my heart beating, to keep my lungs breathing. And then I quote one of my favorite poems from one of my favorite authors, David the Psalmist. He says, your love is better than life, which is a great psalm, except for the last two verses, which are just weird. You know, like if you read that, like the last two verses, I wish I literally have, you know, I wish I could just block them out. Like they're really gross. Like it's something about like dashing the heads of your enemies against the stones and celebrating violence, honestly. and in the midst of this beautiful song. And so around that time, I started questioning a lot in my life. Like, what are we really doing? We're singing. We just sing. And what else do we do? We listen to people talk, and we talk. And 98% of the budget from Christian institutions and buildings that we build go towards the building, the singing, and the talking. And yet scripture, the scripture that I love, that I'm not blocking out like the last two verses of that psalm, which forgive me if you think that's an issue, but I just don't like that part of it. I didn't literally like put a line through it. I just don't like those verses. But I do like the ones where Amos, the prophet, is saying, hey, I'm kind of tired of your singing. Like, you're singing all the time, tired of your praying. I'm going to plug my ears when you pray, because you plug your ears to the cries of the poor and the oppressed and the downtrodden. And then you read Isaiah, and he says similar things, like the prophet Isaiah. And he's not saying it to everybody. He's saying it specifically to the people that make the claim that they're following in the ways of the Creator, right? He's not saying, hey, everybody, I'm tired of you and your songs. He's saying, no, I'm tired of songs that are pretending to be something. But then on the other hand, where's the action to go with your words? Where's the care for the oppressed? Where's the medicine for the poor? Where's the advocating in the city gates, which would be kind of in the political sphere, in the public sector? Where's the advocating for the rights and the privileges of the poor and the powerless? And so I see these commands and these demands that Scripture has on me, as someone who makes the claim that I'm trying to follow in the ways of the Creator, and then I see the shortcoming. I'm kind of like the people that those passages were written to. I'm the one that the one that created the heavens and the earth is saying, I'm going to plug my ears when you sing. It's actually an annoyance to me, because you sing, you pray, you talk, preach. But where's the action? And you read, Jesus's half brother James, which I hold in higher regard than a lot of the other writers, just because he was Jesus' half brother. But James, these are jokes, by the way. So if anybody's listening only, you can see that we're smiling. But James is like, hey, I'm looking for real religion. Thank you, Stella. My daughter brought me a coffee. I'm looking for real religion. And that religion is action. It's actual care for the oppressed. It's actual care for the orphan and the widow. And so that shift happened right around the time that we released Better Than Life. I wanted to write specifically about enslaved people. I wanted to write about justice-related issues. And I found out very fast there wasn't a lot of room for that in what you call mainstream Christian music. And it's pretty obvious from the forefront why there isn't room, because the label executives would say, hey, there's a soccer mom in a minivan in Michigan, and she doesn't want to hear about boy soldiers. She doesn't want to hear about war. She doesn't want to hear about these weird verses from Amos and Isaiah. She just wants to hear that everything's good. Everything's going to be all right. She's forgiven. There's no requirement of action. You just need to be this little ray of sunshine for everybody.
It's kind of funny you bring up Michigan, because I'm from Michigan. So
yeah. And I know soccer moms in Michigan, and they're cool people. They want to help. They want to change the world, man. And but these gatekeepers have some money to make, and so they told me, you're not gonna be able to make money writing songs about slavery. You're not gonna make money trying to challenge people to change the way they live. People just want to be comfortable. They want the safe for the whole family version of Christianity. And what are you coming in here talking about? This other stuff. But what feels good to me, and this is a long answer to your question, man, they hated Isaiah. They hated Amos. The power brokers, the ones whose livelihood depended on keeping the status quo, have never been excited about people saying, hey, there needs to be a major change here. And that's what I'm saying. There needs to be a major change at the very least in what we spend our money on when it comes to like tithing. Like think of that. Think of like 98% of somebody's tithe going into just the talk and not living out the faith, taking care of orphans, welcoming refugees and exiles, loving enslaved people, feeding people that need. There's crumbs from the table left over, and so I wanted to try to like nudge anybody hearing my songs in the direction of repenting, turning from our safe, positive, encouraging Christianity towards the dangerous unselfishness prescribed by Dr. King and other people that were inspiring me at the time.
Thank you for sharing that. I think that's really cool, and especially with you have a mission called Exodus Road. Can you, and it looks like a couple of your songs have been inspired about that. Can you talk a little bit about your mission with Exodus Road and everything?
So we left that record label, and we haven't had a song on the radio since, because I wanted to write songs about human trafficking, about boy soldiers. And one of the executives said, "But isn't worship singing and all that other stuff?" And that was when I realized, man, can you read Amos 5? But we didn't get into it that much. I just realized it wasn't a fit. The Exodus Road, the founder of the Exodus Road, knew my band. His name is Matt Parker. His wife's name is Laura. She's the CEO. And he knew us from the radio from back in the day. He didn't know that I was leaving the record label in 2013 and writing songs about slavery. The first one was "I'm a soul inside a body. I'm not a commodity," inspired by both boy soldiers, Harriet Tubman, Dr. King. And this was just a cool intersection. I'm halfway done with an album, and it was going to be, like you said, Brandon, just a couple songs. But it ended up being a whole concept record called Commodity, and then 2 more to follow it up. So a trio of human trafficking awareness albums in the last 9 years. But I was halfway done with it, and there's going to be a few songs that reference trafficking. And randomly, Matt, who founded the Exodus Road, said, "I want to meet with you." I'd never met him before. And he talks about this organization that he had just started, and they were going in, spying on criminal networks that are selling teenage girls for sex and younger kids for sex too, spying on them, finding evidence of what they're doing, and then partnering with law enforcement, fighting through corruption at different levels of law enforcement, different levels of criminal networks, and making rescues and making arrests. And he'd been doing that for 2 years when I met him. And he was just wanting me to help raise awareness and raise funds. I said, "I can't just raise funds. I can't just sing about this. Let me join you in some capacity." So that's how it started for me. So I spent like the last 9 years touring, playing music. That's my day job. That's how I feed my family. But then I volunteer with this organization, the Exodus Road. I just got back from Asia, spying on punks that are selling teenage girls. And on this recent trip, we, this girl that was like 14, I met on the street, and she took me to this brothel that she worked at. And we went back there 3 times, talked, hung out, got to know them, and set up an operation where we ended up participating in the freedom of 5 minor girls, 3 other women, and arrested all the traffickers involved, which was thrilling. So that's what we're doing right now, and that's what our fan base is helping to fund.
This is just kind of a segue question. Have you seen the movie Sound of Freedom that just came out? Have you seen that yet?
I haven't seen it yet, but the Exodus Road does very similar work to Operation Underground Railroad.
So I think Brad and you saw it, right?
Yes, I saw it just a few days ago.
Yeah, and I saw it like Friday. And
where's it at? Is it in Colombia? Is it in Latin America? Where's it?
It was Colombia. I think the movie was Colombia.
Yeah.
But it's just like when I was reading about Exodus Road before we met with you and everything, I was just doing a little research. It just reminded me that we both saw Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of perfect timing because it like kind of goes into it.
Yeah.
So for the audience who's watching it, if you get the chance, you should go see Sound of Freedom. It's powerful, emotional. I think Braden would do you agree with that?
Definitely. I've never got more emotional during a movie, and human trafficking is a topic that I know Brendan and I and David, we all feel very strongly about, because it's such an evil thing that's going on that we need to bring more exposure to understanding how evil this thing is and stopping it, and raising awareness and actually going out there. And The Sound of Freedom is a great movie that really encourages that, shows it, and it's definitely a movie I would highly recommend to see.
Yeah, I need to see it at some point. It's not I'll probably wait till it ends up on a streaming platform, but that's similar work to what we do. It's honestly very similar, and there's different strategies and there's just different techniques. And trafficking looks different in different places. Like I've been near where the movie's made. I've worked down there. I've spied on criminal networks there. I've been part of raids there. I've seen helicopters, and like SWAT teams bust into some of the places that I had been. I spent a week in Latin America a couple years ago, and we did sting operations on 4 different sets of traffickers, 4 days in a row. And then as soon as I was leaving the country, all those trafficking rings got raided simultaneously, which was thrilling, because I love and I believe that rescue is important, or contributing to someone's freedom. That's really important. But also important is arresting traffickers, getting them off the street, sending a message to criminal networks, traffickers, and customers that somebody's watching. What you're doing is going to become more dangerous, because there's people like my friends that are spying on you, whether or not you know it, looking for you, and they're not going to stop looking for you. So stop doing what you're doing. Go find another line of work. That's the message we're sending. And especially when traffickers get paraded out on television, on the news in handcuffs with their heads down, it makes other traffickers a little more wary, a little more dodgy, and it pushes it down into the shadows. Hopefully it pushes the average age of girls being sold. Hopefully we'll see that age going up. I'm not of the belief that we're going to end slavery in our lifetime. It's something that's been going on for a long time in different forms, and human trafficking is the current form of this idea that someone can own someone else. It's an absurd idea. And it's prevalent, it's prevalent overseas. It's prevalent here. Here it usually looks different. Here, it's going to be like the soccer coach in Franklin, Tennessee that just got arrested, or all the youth pastors that keep on getting arrested for trafficking, head of a Christian festival, camp directors. There's a camp that people keep sending their kids to in Missouri, where all these kids got taken advantage of by one of their counselors. And I'm just tired of seeing it overseas, but I'm tired of seeing it here too.
Yeah. Sorry, this is just a hard topic to talk about. So I just thought, Brad, do you have anything you want to follow up with?
Yeah, definitely. And thank you so much for all you're doing to help these, especially the minors, to get out of this, to arrest the traffickers. It's definitely something that we need more awareness about. So for people who are listening right now, what would you say would be the best ways for them to, if they feel that stirring, like, how can I help? How can I bring awareness somehow, even if they can't go out there into the field? What would you say is the best thing for listeners to do to help end this the best way we can?
Well, I confidently believe that everybody can help. And that's been my experience in 9 years. We all have a certain currency. And my currency happens to be lyrics. Like, that's my ability. That's what I bring to the table. And I think that's my most significant contribution to the counter-trafficking movement is my lyric. But you guys have a currency, and you're spending the currency of your podcast for a little bit here on helping to raise awareness about trafficking. We all have literal currency, and the Exodus Road needs funds. That's how we do what we do. And I think there's programs for like $19, so a few coffees a month can put investigators into the field. And I know most of the investigators in India, in Thailand, in the Philippines, in 2 countries in Latin America, and in the States. I know them personally. These are brave, heroic women and men that are doing this work, and I'm passionate about funding them. But there's ways to both fund and raise awareness that I could never have thought of. So my answer to your question is like, what's your currency? What do you have that's unique? Your fingerprints, your voice, your time, your art, the currency of your moral capital, the currency of your vote, the currency of your creativity, the currency of your imagination. What are you going to spend it on? Isaiah said, if you spend yourself on behalf of the oppressed, then your light will rise like the noonday. And this idea that we can spend our lives, a seemingly insignificant contribution, can change somebody's life. And so I've seen that over and over again. Like a lady in Iowa ran a 5K in stiletto high heels to raise awareness. Like that's something I would have never thought. When someone asked me the question you just asked me, Brad, I would have never thought, well, you could run a 5K in stiletto high heels, but that's what she did. And it brought awareness, it brought funds. I met a 16-year-old last summer at a festival in New England. And she's already put in 500 man hours. She just received the gold award from the Girl Scouts. And she's done all these speaking engagements, and that's crazy. That's significant. I met people at concerts, 6 so far, that said, where do I sign up? And they've came over. Just like I donate my time, I buy my plane tickets, they donate their time, their plane tickets, and they bring their skill set to the front lines, spying on criminal networks. They got trained, they got vetted. So there's all sorts of different levels of interaction, from $20 a month to going overseas to running a 5K in stiletto, to a couple that just donated, instead of like getting toasters and sheets and stuff at their wedding, all their wedding gifts went to the Exodus Road, which I was like, I mean, that's overwhelming. That's like, wow. I hope they'll have to go with low thread count on their sheets for a couple years. I don't know. I still got my sheets from 20 years ago.
That's pretty powerful though, like with all the people helping and everything. I think this is just like something that should have more awareness, that I feel like a lot of people personally push aside, like it's happening, but people don't take action per se.
And there's a lot of reasons not to. And one of the best reasons not to do anything is this belief that I can't really make a difference. And what I'm asking anybody that hears this to think about and to be like, and who I want to be like, is a kid. So the story goes, at a time where Jesus Christ from Nazareth was doing one of his public speaking engagements, and everybody's wore out, tired, and hungry, right? You know the story. 10,000 people, hungry people. And that's 10,000 because at the time they're pretty sexist. They didn't count the women and children when they put those numbers together. That's why people say the feeding of the 5,000. But the kid comes up and says, hey, I have my lunch here. Maybe this can help. And the adults were like, bro, we don't need your lunch. Like, that's not going to help anything. And yet this confidence of a child that says, my 5 loaves of bread and my 2 fish matter here, and I'm going to actually give my whole lunch to this cause. And then the creator of the heavens and the earth lifts it up and blesses it somehow. And as the story is told, that whole hillside of 10,000 human beings ate, and there was leftover. And so that's the confidence I'm looking for from you, from anybody that hears this. What do you have? What is your 5 loaves of bread? What's your 2 fish? How can you use that? What creativity and imagination can you bring to the front lines of a justice movement? Because we're alive today. And maybe it just so happens that we were put here in this time and in this place, not to be apathetic, not to look the other way like we do so often and so easily, but to look at this sorrow, to take the way you felt when you watched that movie and remember it, and then think of like, man, I can do something small that my friends, maybe my family, they're going to say, that's not really moving the needle at all. But you know that the only way the needle's ever been moved is through a combination of a bunch of unselfish people that decided to put their rights and their privileges aside, to die to ourselves, to die to our comfort, and to say, I'm gonna actually move in the direction of freedom. Frederick Douglass, you know who he was? He was an escaped slave that became an abolitionist. He said, I prayed for 20 years, but I never got an answer until I started praying with my feet instead of my mouth. And that's what I'm looking for from anybody that hears this. Let's stop talking about stuff. Let's stop praying about stuff. Let's pray with our actions, and pray too, but let's pray with our actions.
So good.
So good. We just have a few extra minutes. Probably don't want to take your whole day. Do you have anything else you want to bring up, discuss? We like giving our artists, guests, like the floor to speak with if they want.
We are getting ready to do a Kickstarter probably next week for we have the trilogy of counter trafficking albums, but we're going to do another album that hopefully is a little more broader, not as specific just about trafficking, but songs that apply to. One of the things I'm excited about is rehabilitating people that have been through this, and so with our Kickstarter, we have a bunch of kimonos and bracelets that are made by survivors of trafficking. And we're going to do a documentary series about celebrating some of the stories I just told about people that got involved in seemingly insignificant ways. So look for that. Hopefully it'll be out the back half of July and most of August.
So we'll make sure to share that for you. Like, we'll just edit our episode description. We'll drop the link in there. So anyone that's listening, check that out.
Thank you, guys.
For those who's also listening, we'll drop the link to Exodus Roads part of your website and everything, so they can get information there. And we'll also include a link with Sound of Freedom, because that's just came in theaters last week, and it's probably gonna be in theaters for a few months.
Yeah.
So yeah. Again, thank you for joining us on this episode. Brandon, do you have anything else you want to close with?
Thank you again, David, for joining us. We definitely appreciate it. Definitely love this conversation. And for all those listening, definitely check out Remedy Drive's albums. Their last 3 has been an incredible trilogy that I highly recommend. So much great lyrical content, so much great awareness, and beautifully written songs. And yeah, thank you again, David, for joining us.
Thank you, gentlemen.
And we'll not see you next week, guys, because we won't be here next week, but we'll see you guys the week after that. So tune in. Thanks again, everyone. And I hope you guys have a great week.